Hello, I am Kirk D. Lyons, and this is an American Voice from the South. The Texas legislature has taken on monument protection, and this past week there were hearings in the House on several pieces of legislation that have been proposed. I want to bring those to your attention, especially our Texas supporters and hearers, and they need to react to this report that we're making so that we can keep monument protection alive in Texas. There are three bills that are before the Texas legislature. There is Texas House Bill 583 that was proposed by Representative James White, and then there is Senate Bill 226 that was proposed by State Senator Pat Fallon, and then there is House Bill 2648 that was sponsored by Kyle Biedermann. These, I believe, have all had hearings before the Texas House. The most important thing to happen, since the legislature only meets 150 days in the year, every other year, is to get Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick to do something to move these bills out of committee and in front of the House so that they can be passed. The Lieutenant Governor is the most powerful elected office in the state of Texas. Dan Patrick has shown very little inclination to get behind monument protection, and if we're going to force his hand, we're going to have to make him. It was, after all, Dan Patrick and Governor Abbott that voted to take down the Children of the Confederacy plaque. They did not think that that was important. They did not see the disastrous precedent they were setting for all monuments at the Capitol. So Dan Patrick needs to hear from you, and then his contact information will be at the end of this broadcast, to let him know that monument protection is important. Now, these hearings slipped up on us, and the heritage community did not let people know that these hearings were going on, and so very valuable information that could have been imparted to these committee members that were hearing these bills was not passed on. It needs to be done now. Each one of these bills has a problem, and they're not fit to be passed right now, because if they pass now, they're almost worse than useless. The Senate bill and House Bill 2648, which are joined together, leave enforcement of the bill to the Attorney General. Well, the Attorney General, like the governor, are anti-Confederate, and they're not going to do diddly squat. That is not the way to go. The Representative White's bill actually has criminal penalties, but they're misdemeanors. They would impose a $50 fine, up to a $1,000 fine, and from 3 days to up to a year in jail for violation. Not good enough. Not good enough. We know how the snowflakes work. If they don't get their way through the legal process, then they'll just go dynamite it, push it over, or tear it down. We know that's going to happen. And so to protect these monuments, we need real criminal penalties. Matter of fact, the SLRC does a meme, and we're half serious when we say that monument violators and desecrators, bleached bones, should be chained to, or they should be chained to the monument and left there until their bleached bones are reproof to the rest of us that would think about monument violation. Now, one of the things that I do like about Senate Bill 226 and House Bill 2648, and House Bill 2648 is sponsored by Kyle Biedermann. Senate Bill 226 is sponsored by Pat Fallon. It leaves county and city monuments to be removed, can only be removed by a referendum of the public. The public in that county and that city can vote to bring it down. Well, if we believe in participatory democracy, then we have to say that that would be okay. And frankly, if it's a fair vote, we shouldn't be too worried, because generally most people, if left to vote on it themselves, would say keep the monuments. But there are some criticisms that I want to give to you, that every citizen in the state, or people outside the state, if you want to call, should call their state representative and their state senator and tell them that the bills that we listed, Senate Bill 226, House Bill 2648, and House Bill 583, they all need work. And what we want is, one, there needs to be felony criminal penalties for monument vandals and desecrators and removers. And that should include city and county and state officials. If they try to illegally remove a monument and they do it, they should face a felony criminal penalty. And if some Antifa thug knocks over a monument, he should be facing 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine, not $50 to $1,000 and a year or less in prison or jail. They need to go to jail for a long time, and we need to send a message. Chaining them to the monument they desecrate and letting them just starve to death there so that their bleached bones stand as a witness to what they did is not a bad idea. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But we do need serious criminal penalties for monument vandalizers and desecrators. And we have to assume that the Attorney General or the District Attorney of a local municipality is not going to prosecute anybody for monument violation, removal, or desecration. And so we need standing in all of these bills. Citizens need to have standing to bring a lawsuit to protect these monuments, temporary restraining orders, all of that. We have to have citizen standing. We can't leave it to the DAs, the attorney generals, and the elected politicians, because we already know they won't do it. They'll fall on their sword or not do it at all, and we can't make them because they have prosecutorial discretion. So we must give these bills citizen standing, and you need to call your legislature and demand that he insists that that be added to the bills. Monuments need First Amendment protection, and that should be put in all of this legislation, that these monuments have First Amendment protection, and that's put into the bill as public art and public monuments. School districts need to be included in all of these bills for name changes, and so that name changes are prevented. Some of the bills do have parts in there for school name changes, but not all of them. They all need, whichever one passes, need to have school name changes included. And that also includes the name changes of streets should only be by public referendum. So Representative White's bill allows, the Biedermann, Fallon bills allow for public referendum. White's bill, if it gets anywhere, needs to have the public referendum. That all needs to be in there, so that in the local and county, the names only can be changed with the public voting on it. The main thing that we need to see happen, though, and we need to tell our legislatures, is they need to choke off money to cities or public universities that remove monuments with or without a referendum. If they illegally remove it, or if they don't hold a referendum, they need to be fined back to the Stone Age. And the money needs to be choked off to them. State money needs to stop going to San Antonio because they took down the Travis Park monument. Needs to stop going to Dallas because they're threatening Pioneer Park. Needs to stop going to the University of Texas for taking down the monuments there, the Confederate monuments. And that needs to happen. So there are plenty of things that you can do. We'll have contact information at the back of this broadcast. You can also write us at the Southern Legal Resource Center, and we'll have information on how you can contact us. Get with it. We've got to protect these monuments, and we've got to make the politicians do what we think needs to be done, not what they think is best for us. Thank you, and God bless Dixie.